Song-Che has never had the chance to properly explore this place. I did investigate a little while that robot took me around. No matter how I look at it, this is a great place to do business. Is this a library? It looks quite different from the kind of library I know. And it doesn't seem to have any similarities to ours. So how do we start? Just operate the machines over there. Hello and welcome to the Oxia City and Terrace Library. I'm here to assist with your inquiries, queries. I apologize. Please wait a moment. Is there a glitch in your system? Sorry, my memory storage is full. I will promptly replace the storage module after the closing time today. There's no need to worry. This is just a routine maintenance and will not affect our service. I sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding or inconvenience this may have caused you. Please enjoy your reading time. The controls are pretty straightforward, but there are too many categories. Wait a moment, let me enter some keywords for a search. Curse in the Shadows, The Great Panic, 100-Year Chronicle. From the synopsis, it records the Great Panic that affected the entire world 100 years ago in the form of a non-fiction novel. Let's try another one. What's wrong? Although the timelines and the nature of events match, it's ultimately just a novel, not very reliable. We should at least check it first. 10 Sensations of the Shadow Illustrated Guide, Tainted by Dust. Curse in the Shadows, 10 Sensations of the Shadows Illustrated Guide. Excerpt. Indeed, when that leader of Shu finally figured out the origin of various calamities and classified them into 10 types, people seemed to gradually forget the fear they had once experienced. Although the disaster brought by shadows could not be completely eradicated, the fact that these intangible entities could be restrained by human effort was reassuring enough. After all, no one fears the flames in the furnace, right? It is precisely because of this that warning becomes necessary. If, due to youthful bravado, one willingly plunges their hands into the burning flames, that is not a scenario we'll find pleasing. So behold, what we are about to introduce next is a type of 10 sensation of the shadows known as tainted by dust. Its manifested effects is perhaps the most fitting example. As depicted, when someone is tainted by it, strange imprints periodically flash through their minds. Yet, even with such conspicuous features, it was only noticed by people after a long time. Compared to the dream of loss, where monsters appear out of thin air, or the faded lights manifesting as incurable plagues, its manifestation is too covert, seeming like nothing more than a malady that deepens fear. Those affected begin to intensely fearing everything they know, starting from what is visible, gradually refusing to engage with it, and ultimately, everything includes themselves. And without the Shu's intervention, the outcome is clear. You'll find it difficult to prevent their self-destruction. Although it seems scholarly, the content is similar to urban legends. Song-Che, have you heard of these stories? The girl suddenly snapped back to attention. While the other two were searching for information, she focused on the library's robotic shopkeeper with keen interest. Let me see. Curse in the Shadows, 100 Years of Great Panic, Chronicle. It sounds 2. Almost bursting out with laughter at the comical title, the girl immediately judged it as not being worth the time. But as her gaze continued downwards and scanned the illustration, wait, 10 Faces of Misery? In your world, do these things still exist? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but it's just a novel. Perhaps not necessarily. When you first arrived in Langqiu, didn't you already subdue one of them? You mean the shadows you can't dream of loss? Even though they're comparatively tame now than 100 years ago. As long as you haven't encountered them here, that's good. If they're really the same as 100 years ago, the only gadget we have wouldn't be able to handle it. So you're saying what this book talks about really existed in the past? Of course, and things didn't go as smoothly as the book made it sound. Your reputation depends on your opponent. Just a few moves aren't gonna cut it, especially when it comes to ascension of truth. Is it like a grad thesis? A grad thesis? Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. But if we delve into it, it could be considered the source of shadows. How should I put it? Like fire and electricity? It always takes time for mysterious, malevolent entities to transform into common household stuff. Despite all the challenges, these shadows all stem from fear. Are you saying that what's described in this book and the shadow we've encountered? Exactly. They share the same roots and origin. 10 Faces of Mystery was a term coined by my master. With his rule, truth didn't become a household name. According to him, the calamities that afflicted people in those days originated from the fear in people's hearts. I don't know how he figured it out, but he said something like, the fears in people's hearts, though varied, can be categorized into 10 types. Sometimes it does resemble the monsters described in the book, emerging from shadows. Other times, it's simply an incurable epidemic. Truth be told, monsters are the easiest force of misery to deal with. I know a tough lady who can ward off evil spirits with brutal force, albeit only as a temporary fix. So for a while, those who could handle 1 or 2 faces of misery call themselves true. Long-run reputation is hard to live up to. The master set a rule: you can only be recognized as a shrew if you can handle all 10 faces of mystery. So with that criteria in mind, doesn't that mean Entropy and I have a chance to become a shrew too? The book is right in front of us, isn't it? Let's see what it says. Why are you leaving me hanging like that? I just don't like bragging. Who wants to listen to me go into detail about all the things my master's done? What do you say, Entropy? I'm okay with that. Based on the guidelines from earlier, space here is just barely sufficient for us. After I open the book, please don't go moving around at random. What does reading have to do with moving around? You'll find out soon enough. Loading data book, Curse in the Shadows, The Great Panic, 100-Year Chronicle. Is this a 3-dimensional projection of data? Wow, you people here even know some Taoism arts. Can this still be called a book? It's impressive, but how are we supposed to read it? I usually deal with more abstract books, so I don't have much experience either. But following the author's instructions should give up enough to go off of. The next part of the story is reconstructed from the notes of an unnamed investigator. Due to the loss of content, I had to supplement it with information from other sources, so please bear with me, dear readers. According to the notes, The undisclosed investigator was sent to Amber Street on a confidential mission.
而根据诸多记载，在
And
很长一
according
段
to
时间
numerous
里，
records,
琥珀街
Amber Street
都是一
remained
个
a
极为凶
dangerous
险的灾难
location
丛
full of
生之地。
disasters for a very long time.
总算醒了。
Great, you're
没想
finally
到我竟然
awake.
要分出精力
Didn't
找到增
expect
援。
I had to divert some
怎么样？
energy to take care of my
太搞了，
reinforcements. How are you feeling? Do you have a grasp of the
地上那些
situation?
黑色的东西。
Those black things on the ground.
是啊，
Yeah, you're attacked by
你
your
被
own
自己的
shadow.
影子袭击了。
Even though you joined us not
虽然
long
你才刚刚
ago,
加入，
I'm sure you've
但
read
手
some
册上
instructions
并
in
没
the
有说
manual.
嘛。
What happened here?
这里究竟发生了什么？很棘手的
A
情形。
tricky issue. It
似乎有
seems
超过
like
3种不
more
同的
than
怪
three
谈同时
different
出现。
supernatural occurrences
据说
emerged
人类殉死之术
simultaneously,
也
and it's
折在
said
了这
that
里。
even the shoe of sacrifice fell here.
当然了，
Of course,
他原本就一
he
心
had a
求
bit
死，
of a death
或
wish,
许是故意
so
的。
maybe it was
但能
intentional.
让他得
The
偿所
fact
愿，
that he got his
也足以
wish
说明
also
这里的危险
indicates
性。
there's danger here.
可
The
是
shoes,
树怎么
how
可
is
能？
that possible? Yeah, I know.
我也知道
In this regard,
我们在这
our
方面的能
ability
力
is still a far
可远
cry
远比
from
不上他
theirs,
们。
and us coming
来不
here
来这里
didn't
都
really
根本
make a
无所谓。
difference.
但
But even the
既然
shoe
树都
couldn't
没能解决
handle
这
the
里的
trouble
问题，
here,
那
we
我们
as
这种
mere
新手们
mortals could only send a few
也只好
people
送
to
几
their
个人去
death
死，
to show that
表
we
示一
tried
下
our
自己
best,
尽力了，
right?
对吧？很可惜，
Unfortunately,
我们就是
that's
这
who
种
we
人。
are.
如手机上
As
所说
mentioned
的
in
那
the
样，
note, this
这位调查员
investigator
曾
was
经隶
once
属于一
part
个
of an
负责对
official
抗眼中诅
organization
咒的官方机
responsible
构
for。combating the
虽
curse
然
of
他并未提及
the
名字，
shadow.
但我想，
Although he didn't
大
mention
家
the
心中
name,
也已
I
经有
think
所猜
many
测，
people
而
already
更
have
为
their
耳熟能
guesses.
详的琥珀
And
街
he
大
was
恐
one of
慌
the。
他正是
witnesses
其
to the
中的一位
well-known
亲
Amber
历者。
Street Great Panic.
哇，
It feels
这还
very
真是逼真
real.
呢！
Did they use
是
Sea
用
of
了
Data
数据海的技术
technology?
这么说倒
I
也没
suppose
错
you。could say that. I've seen
以
plenty of
现代史
instances of virtual
咱倒是见过不
representation.
少啦。
My
咱
master
们那位
loved
师
doing
傅可
that.
总喜欢这么干。不过，
However, the
这书
scenery
中
in
的
this
景
book
致
does indeed
的确和
resemble
琥珀
Amber
街十
Street
分
a
相
lot.
似呢。
How fascinating.
有趣有趣。那么这段故事
So,
里提到
about
的
the
殉
shoe
死
of
之术，
sacrifice mentioned.
是利
It's
托斯
Uncle
特说，
Toast, but he's
他
not
才
that
没
easy
那
to
么意思
kill.
啊。就像刚才那个人说
Just
的
like
一
that
样，
person said,
大叔他
he
的
had a
确
death
心就该
wish.
死，
But it's not.
但这种得偿所愿，可绝不会。
It's definitely not
可
because
绝不
of
会
some
是因为
trivial
他们
matter
知道这
mentioned
些人
earlier.
区区小事，听他们的
Judging
语
from
气，
their
这
tone,
可一点都不
these
像小
didn't
事
sound
了。
like
但
trivial
如果
matter
反
at
过来
all.
看，
But if we
姑
put
且不论我们
aside
就
the
身处
fact that
其
we're
中的这
currently
本书，
inside the book,
至少他
the
所
note
参
that
考
it
的手
refers
记
to should
还是
actually
有
have
几分
some
可信度的。
credibility, right?
那咱可不好
It's
说。
hard to say.
不如
How about we
先接着
continue
瞧瞧。
reading? Don't worry, we'll get you out of this area soon.
据说
They say the other shoes are on their way here, so don't worry, everything will be okay.
重要的是
And what's important is that, no, it doesn't matter who comes. You haven't even seen that monster.
那简直像
It's
是
it's like, it doesn't matter who comes. It doesn't matter. It's not true. Everything will be fine. So you mustn't be afraid.
你千万别害怕。
Not be afraid. How is that possible? After seeing something like that,
人类根本
something
对付不了的东
humans
西
are no match for. How could I? Am I too late again? What exactly did they see?
到底看见了什么？
只是因为感
Because
到
they
害怕，
merely sense fear, there were monsters emerging from their own shadows.
这就
Is
是
this
一
a
个实现
form
的一
of
种
the
表
ten
现
faces
形式
of
吗？
misery?
可
Exactly.
早
In
年
the
的那
early
段时
days,
间，
life
大
was
家都是这么
perilous
纠
for
结的
everyone.
不过，
But
毕
considering
竟
you've
见识过围
experienced
棋
fear
啦，
gathering
应该也
before,
不觉得这有
it
什么
shouldn't
稀奇
seem
吧？
so strange to
可
you.
是现在的欧夏，
But why
为什么
hasn't the
呢？
current Oxia?
呀，
Looks like you
太阳
finally
作物
figured it
的，
out.
没错，
You're right. 100 years ago, we Shus rounded up all the shadows and isolated them in a certain place, the very same Langqiu that you've seen before. We even exterminated the evils and permanently resolved the threat of the Great Eruption. When I first arrived in Langqiu, I seem to have encountered similar things in the shadows. Could it be some form of prophecy or divination, dreams? No wonder people admire you so much. That's our responsibility after all. And if we happen to make some money along the way, that makes it even sweeter, no? But if they are really powerful, that person just now, what got them so terrified? Yeah, why?
为什么呢？等等，
Wait, isn't this the dog that brought us to Langqiu?
多尼戈尔，
Duonigui.
你们还真见
You
过
guys
它
really saw it before.
当然，
Of course, if it weren't for it, we couldn't have reached Langqiu and we wouldn't met you. How's that possible? It shouldn't be able to leave Langqiu itself. Are you sure you didn't mistake it for some other dog?
搞混了。
It's really hard to mistake the two tails, and you can even play with shadows. How could it? How could it be like this? If evil cannot be eliminated, then take its place. What nonsense!
简直是在开玩笑。
I will never be afraid. I will leave here alive.
他这是在说
What
什
is
么
he saying?
所以这只狗
So
究
this
竟
dog. What
和你们之前
exactly?
见着的一样，
Same as the one you saw before, a monster that jumped out of the
只
shadows.
是
However,
让它诞生的人特殊了些。驯
the
死
shadow
之树的
monster
眼中
of
怪
the
物
shoe of sacrifice is no ordinary monster.
等等，
Wait, you guys aren't specifically responsible for eliminating these creatures. No one else does. Uncle Litos is just different.
利托斯特殊不太一样。
I don't know how he got Duonigui to sign some kind of contract with him. I didn't witness it myself, though. After that, Uncle Litos gained the ability to manipulate shadows overnight and became a shrew. Manipulate shadows? Yeah, although Master didn't include it in the rules, the ability to dispel shadows mostly comes from the shadow
大多来
themselves.
自影子本身。
Then, can you do it for me? That sounds so
做影
cool.
子好像还挺有趣的。
I like to, but there aren't many shadows here. Besides, isn't fear gathering
再
already
者
an
说，
example?
维吉不就是吗？
Well then, how about we show it to us next time we go to
咱们去和
Langqiu
克拉丽
to
的时
fetch
候，你
Corelli?
再表演一番吧。不过这么说
So,
来，
have we
我们
actually
算是找到了
found
什么
any
线索吗？
clues or not?
带我们去到廊丘
This is
来，
the dog
不
that
就是
brought
这
us
条
to
狗吗？
Langqiu, right?
恐怕
I'm
不算是。
afraid not.
为什么？
Why? The data loading was interrupted.
啊？
Is this how
合
the
着这
book
本
ends?
书就这么结束了？手
The
机上
contents
的
of
内
the
容到
note
此
end
为
here,
止。
and it seemed that
显
after
然在那
that,
之后，
this
这
investigator
位
did
调
not
查员也
escape
并
his
未幸免
fate.
于难。唯一可
The
以
only
确信的
thing
是，
that can be
那个
confirmed
被
is
认为
that
引人
the
深思的书
presumed
再
dead
次出
shrew
现，
appeared
并使
again,
琥珀街大
making
恐
the
慌成
Amber
为历
Strait's
史，
great panic a
甚
thing
至
of
使
the
其众
past,
人人避之不及的
transforming
街
it from
道
a place
重
everyone
新发展为
avoided
繁华的
to a
商业
bustling
区。
commercial district.
啊，
You've got to
不
be
是吧？
kidding
没
me.
头没尾的。
No conclusion at
卖关
all.
子的人可
I
最讨
hate
厌了。
cliffhangers.
所以松雀，
So, Songque,
多
you
尼
also
戈尔
have
会
no
出现在世
clue
界之
about
外
how
的原因，
Duonigui
你也
appeared
不要
outside
好
your
好头绪
world.
了。
Well, it's been a while since I last saw it, and it shouldn't have been able to
没法子
leave.
出去才是。
Who knows?
说
Maybe
不
there's a
定是有什么
misunderstanding.
误会在。
Anyway, the confirmation from Gadget is that the Anchor of the Apocalypse actually operated twice today. Should we continue reading here, or should we go ask Chen-Xue? After all, we've gained some information here. Sure, but regarding this matter, we might also want to hear the gadget's opinion. Meanwhile, in another world. So let's summarize the information we have. The first is about the world itself. Langqiu and Oxia were originally in the same world, split into two by Shus, a little over 100 years ago. Or to be more precise, by Shus with Songque as the lead, thereby isolating the cursed in the shadows in Langqiu, while allowing Oxia to be rebuilt in a brand new bubble universe, unaffected by the Great Eruption. Strictly speaking, this is still a conjecture. Only after stabilizing the pathway and completing an accurate mapping of the bubble universe can it be conclusively determined. If you're just looking to be some armchair professor, then you better keep quiet. We're exploring, not doing mathematical proofs. Question: what is an armchair professor? Never mind. Let's continue summarizing the second point. Currently, continuous observation of the anchor of the apocalypse indicates that it has undergone some new changes compared to previously. According to Ms. Chen-Xue, although it hasn't released the same level of energy as before, it unexpectedly retains some kind of activity. Although the reason is unclear, it gives a slight response to external energy stimuli. If we can extend the duration of the experiment, perhaps we can independently find a way to use it. However, Duonikwe may have already achieved this. Isn't it just a normal dog? Have you ever thought about what this Shu we're talking about actually is? Get to the point already, Uju. In the history of Antari City, which is the precursor to Langqiu, there was once a tyrant. When she grew disgusted with his subject, she would reward them with a precious and rare exotic beast. To properly care for such a rare creature, the subject had to go to great lengths and sacrifice everything. If they failed to care for the beast, the tyrant would use their negligence as a reason to kill them. The abilities of a shrew, in my view, are similar. I give up. For the sake of our communication efficiency, I suggest you put aside your so-called reasoning process and just state your conclusions already. Fair enough. After all, your way of thinking is quite different from mine. In the past, for the sake of banishing evil spirits and monopolizing miracles, some people went so far as to separate everything into two worlds. Due to the twists and turns of fate, you all are unfortunately separated by this barrier. Ergo, we have to pull out the nail. You're the one who suggested I put the reasoning process aside and just state my conclusions. Following the principle from earlier, shall we set off directly? When someone sees it, they'll naturally understand what's going on. So why can't we teleport this time? Why do I have to keep running like this? It's still the same principle, equivalent exchange. The present moment is different from the previous niceties.
不知道我能不能买中10天之后的彩票？开玩笑的。这里的氛围能让人。Thought experiment on planetary ecological cycles. Author 有云。Anyone well versed with the theory of evolution acknowledges that life on a planet is inevitably shaped by the astronomical cycles. The recurring seasons spawn deciduous plants, and the fluctuating conditions offer opportunities for the evolution of numerous species. Even human, considering itself the pinnacle of existence, struggles to disregard the natural rhythm of day and night. From this perspective, intriguing thought experiment about extraterrestrial life emerge. Let's suppose there exists a planet with a rotational period of 15 hours a day. It's evident that inhabitants there will most likely spend 10 hours active each day, followed by 5 hours of rest to recharge their energy. The proportion of their active and restful period, rather than the absolute values, would probably resemble ours. Now, let's imagine this planet has a revolution period. Let's say it only takes 350 local days to orbit the Sun. In this scenario, based on local years, would the average lifespan of the local inhabitants, some form of intelligent life, purely in numerical terms exceed that of human on Luoxing by more than 3 times? 668 divided by 350 multiplied by 24 divided by 15 is approximately 3. Perhaps not. From an evolutionary standpoint, the core factor determining the average lifespan of a species is whether it is advantageous for gene self-replication. This explains phenomena such as certain herbaceous plants and insects being annual, and the age at which humans cease developing and begin aging. Coinciding with peak reproductive years, you can compare it to the concept of a warranty period for mechanical creations. Essentially, evolution ensures a species survives long enough for the next generation to take over. If a species doesn't need to provide protection of offsprings, this time limit may be even shorter. Of course, there are species in nature that extended warranties, but their reproductive strategies are more like individual cases and exceptions, likely lacking significant reference value. Or one could say, the exceptionally long warranty periods of these species are purely coincidental, akin to an empire inadvertently constructing a cultural legacy far surpassing its own lifespan. Returning to our original topic, how would evolution define the warranty period of intelligent life forms? Firstly, if we assume that we and these intelligent beings share similar evolutionary foundations, such as cellular structure, protein-based chemical reaction, etc., then the cultural learning period until adulthood for each species, even from the perspective of learning efficiency, would have a degree of comparability. Secondly, considering the differences between planetary environment and the inevitability of intelligent life remaining in the Stone Age, in evolutionary terms, with the subsequent era of civilization being but a momentary blip in the timeline of evolution, the cultural learning period until adulthood is more likely to be related to the lifespan of hunting and gathering. It would be more closely associated with the frequency of temperature and humidity fluctuations in the environment, rather than the absolute net learning time. An example of this could be seen in certain cephalopods. They possess highly developed brains, but due to environmental influences, they mature rapidly, age subsequently, and die quickly. In essence, our thought experiments leads to a compelling notion. Regardless of a planet's revolution period, whether it's relatively long or short in absolute terms, it cannot, in fact, be excessively long or short. This would render the planet uninhabitable within its sun's habitable zone, preventing the emergence of civilization with underlying logic similar to ours. And so, the inhabitants there would mature at a similar age range to us, typically around 16 to 20 years. In other words, perhaps numbers between 10 and 20 carry some cultural connotation of usefulness across all planets. Hey there! Nice to see you're up for a chat. Most folks don't exactly jump at the chance to talk to a doctor, you know? What kind of issue do you specialize in? As for stuff like pacemaker, brain transplants, or bypass surgeries, that's not my wheelhouse. But for bumps, bruises, and minor bone fractures, I've got your back. For a doctor, no news is good news. Take care and stay healthy.